popular to like them anymore.
Is Nickelback bad, though?
What's going on, everyone? This is the Aggie Game Day Extra podcast. I'm KBTX senior Texas A&M sports reporter Travis Brown.
You almost got it, buddy.
I did get it.
Writer.
He got it.
Writer, Travis. You're a writer.
Those are
okay.
interchangeable.
Okay.
Yeah, but you're right. I did mess up my title. That's okay. Over there, always the critic, Max Crawford.
Yes, I am.
And over there,
I am.
Sports director Tyler Shaw.
To be fair, he does report, Max. So.
He does, and he does it very well. Guys, I'm telling you, if you want some content, just some like good Aggie baseball, not even, well, obviously good Aggie baseball content, but like what happens when this happens and there's a 9-hour weather delay and stuff like that. I'm telling you, between Tyler, Kuzma, and Travis, and Aaron, like the whole team was out there. Just
none of us though have a blueprint for how to do this job.
No, we're still getting there.
We're still getting there. Yeah,
we're not there quite
just
yet.
churning out content.
We don't have a 13-step process of how to dominate the
Max,
space.
We were talking.
You guys did move the needle this past weekend, though.
We did. Max, we were talking about the fact that you were listening to some rock music of our youth.
Yes.
And that the fact that they are playing it on the classic rock station. Classic rock is like 70s,
Leonard
80s. It's
Led
Zeppelin.
I think you go back even farther, say like Rolling Stones.
Stones, yeah. It's not Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Aerosmith. Yeah, so
Aerosmith, that's classic rock.
That's when I discovered, I mean, this was more than 5 years ago now, but it's the local radio station in town, 99.5 The Fox. And it was like, more classic rock coming your way, or, whatever those jingles sound like.
You should be a rock.
I would love to.
Green Day comes on or something.
Well, and then all of a sudden you're, can't stop addicted to the shindig. And I'm like, that's not classic rock. I kept going, and then it was the Green Day song, and then it was Foo Fighters right after that, and I was like, what is going on?
That's just what I listen to on Spotify. That's not classic.
Yeah. To be fair, though, when we were our youths, the distance from the classic rock age to when we are is probably about the same.
Yeah.
To this Foo Fighters, Green Day to the kids now. So it's depressing to think about.
You know what radio station that was on when we were growing up? We were talking about DFW radio stations earlier. 102 on the Edge.
It's a great one. All right, there's a great Spotify playlist that's just. It's like marked like 102 on the Edge music, and it is just everything that I listened to in high school to get.
Ooh, you should share that with me.
To get up pumped up.
Will you share that with me?
I will share that with you.
I wonder at what point because you're not that much older than me, but you were in high school in a very slightly different era, like a half a generation older than me, if even that.
Yeah.
But a lot of those are still very clearly ringing a bell. But Incubus,
I think
Arctic Monkeys.
The best thing is right when we were driving. So my high school, the high school was downtown. The athletic fields were a ways away. We had to drive to our practices. And I think if I remember right, the actual name of the contest is something that's probably not suitable fully for a family-friendly podcast, but there was a thing where they would play 3 songs, and you had to guess what the through line was for 3 songs. Okay. And they went, and we would always listen to The Edge to do. I'm just going to call it the 3 o'clock 3-pack or something like that. Yeah, and
I love that.
It was great. It was good times.
That is wonderful. Yeah,
call in to say that it was all Chris Cornell bands or something.
That's it, which is a lot of them.
Yeah.
What is it? Soundgarden, Audio Slave. Anyway. One of the times that I was proudest of Alex Egan was when we were golfing that one time, and he's like, "Let's listen to Amber Lynn." It's like, absolutely.
I was the most proud of
very much.
I don't remember if it was you or him when he said, "Let's start this round off with some jock jams."
He did. Yes,
that was
the jock jams were good.
Chef's kiss.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into the headlines this week, and Max, you'd be very, very pleased to know that
same picture.
Bucky is still screaming in the headlines, and that's because. But he is telling.
You're like clinging on to
what
this
he's
at this
doing.
point.
What he's doing is he's telling former Kansas State guard PJ Haggerty to enter the doors.
Yeah, or
into
he's
College
like, hey,
Station.
everyone, look who I got.
Yeah, look at this guy
Look who I
right here.
Because it's a great signing.
Pretty salty signing. Tyler, what do you know about PJ Haggerty?
He scores a lot of points.
Yeah.
He is just a pure scorer. It'll be interesting. I've heard around that some people like the fit with Buckyball. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how he fits, because I feel like with Buckyball, it is a lot more spread it around, find your shooters, get quick shots up and early in the shot clock. He dominates the ball a lot, so maybe I don't know. I don't know how this will fit with Buckyball, but it's good to have a guy that scores that much. You need that. You need scores.
This is another one of those, this is where we are in college sports situations, because if you look at his past, this will be his fifth season in college athletics. He started at TCU in 2022-23, went to Tulsa in 23-24, Memphis in 24-25, Kansas State in 25-26, and will round out his career at Texas A&M. But last year,
averaged more than 20 points all of those stops.
Last stop, best stop.
Yep. Averaged 23.4 points, rebounds, 5.3 rebounds per game, 3.8 assists.
Great
Shooting
percentage too.
Yeah, great.
Effective, it looks like.
Yes,
but just by looking at the numbers.
And he's, Bucky is all about the 3-point shooting. 35.1% shooter from 3-point range, averages 3.7 attempts. So he's not gonna just, fire it up there from long range all the time.
Right.
But he is a 6'3" guard. Just a little bit of that scoring threat that they probably were going to need from all the guys that they lost, especially all of those guards. Portal stays open through the 21st of this month.
Yeah.
And so there's still plenty of work to be done to fill up that roster.
Saw Bucky at some of the baseball games.
He was.
Yeah.
He was bringing some recruits out there, doing some recruiting. We're going to talk some more baseball here in a second, but big news of last week that we were able to kind of tease but not get into because it was breaking right when we were doing this last week. That is that Argentina and Honduras are going to play a soccer game in Kyle Field, an international friendly, to warm up for the 2026 World Cup that's happening around here. Messi, Trev Albert said that he expects Lionel Messi to be involved.
He was on the promo that they pushed out whenever the tickets went on sale.
Right. He's going to be involved somehow. It might not be the game. It might be the game. We don't know. But they expect him to be involved in some capacity somehow.
My guess is he runs out of the tunnel.
Holding the 12th man flag?
Yeah, holding the 12th man flag.
Man, can you imagine? That would be insane.
But I would kind of be pretty shocked if he actually played.
Yeah,
in this
I
game.
would too. Because that's 10 days before their first World Cup
match.
Right.
I mean, they're going to want a freaking steel doors around that guy and don't touch him before the World Cup.
He hasn't even announced if he's going to play in the World Cup yet.
That's true, yeah.
So
that's true. He might not.
There's questions around that as well. Honduras isn't in the World Cup. Of course, Argentina is the defending champion. So that'll be pretty exciting for that. Tyler, we mentioned A&M's national championship diver, but you had to sit down with him and talk, and that aired this week. That's over on KBTX.com. Give them the little Reader's Digest version of that conversation.
Yeah, so basically Emilio is the first platform diver to win a national championship at Texas A&M. He's also the first A&M swimmer/diver freshman to ever win a national championship. Kind of flew under the radar. He was fourth at SEC, so he didn't even make the podium. But then he said the dive that got him off the podium, basically, like his worst dive at SEC's, ended up being the one that clinched the national title for him at NCAA's. He said after that dive, he was just kind of focused on that one, getting it down right, and he said, as soon as he hit the water, he knew. Because at that point, your last dive in, you get 6 dives. He knew if he did well enough, he could clinch the title because he was in striking distance at that point. And, he did it. He's like, yeah.
What an interesting sport that I never thought about this because I'm a terrible swimmer and would not dive off anything to save my life. But, in any other sport, you cross the finish line or you throw the pitch or whatever, and, instantaneously, pretty much, you kind of, know what's going to happen. And
Right.
you can go on and celebrate. When he hits the water, he knows, but he has to
you gotta
get
wait.
to the surface to
get to the
breathe
surface.
again.
You have to see what the scores are.
Yeah.
You have to wait for the other divers to finish.
Yeah.
See what their scores
It's,
are.
it's an interesting sport. You can't just I guess you could be wiggling around underwater,
Yeah.
but
His family was in San Antonio because his sister was at a high school track meet. They're from Mexico, but she was at this thing in San Antonio. So they weren't even they're present. They're all there FaceTiming him. Watching oh my gosh, you won the national championship.
even the parents didn't think that. No, just kidding.
So it was pretty cool. He was a great guy. And right after I talked to him, he flew back to Mexico that day. Go be with his family. But it was pretty cool. So you see another national champion come through A&M.
You can go see more on that on KBTX.com right now. Women's tennis clinched, I believe, their 5th SEC title.
At least a share of it, yeah.
A share of it, and so more good things to come out of them. And softball swept Ole Miss. The crazy part of that is that game was back and forth, the final game of the series, over there in Oxford. And as we'll talk about here in a little bit when we get into the baseball series, they had enough time to play that game, get on a plane, fly back to College Station, land, get all their gear, and then file into Bluebell Park before that Sunday game was ultimately called due to weather. So a little bit of time as a flat circle in that situation.
Yeah. Shout out. It was Richard Zane who was tweeting about it, and he said, will Trisha Ford's Aggies be able to get there in time to watch the Aggie baseball game? He asked jokingly.
Yeah.
And I replied to it, and I said, yes, they
and
will.
They did.
And they did.
Well, they never got to actually see them play. But
right.
had they played, they would have been there.
They would have been there.
They would have been, they were there to watch Tarp.
Which is so cool, man. I tell you what, the chemistry between these programs is red hot right now. You've got Elko signing hot dog costumes. You've got Bucky showing up to the baseball games. You've got Coach Morrison throughout the first pitch for Friday. You've got so much coach camaraderie here. And I don't know who it was that sparked all that. Not to say that it wasn't necessarily there a couple of regimes ago, but it's very clear that all the coaches are supporting each other in all their programs.
I mean, from everybody that I've asked, it starts from the top in that, yes, the football coach isn't necessarily the dean of the athletic department, but I think a lot of people follow that lead, and I think that's where it definitely comes from for Mike Elko.
Over 40 years ago, my parents started C&J Barbecue, and today we continue to honor Dad's legacy with the best barbecue in the Brazos Valley. With locations on Harvey Road, Southwest Parkway, and our newest location on William Joe Bryan, we carry on our family tradition of serving up award-winning barbecue, sides, and desserts. We also offer delivery, catering, as well as custom menus and private chef services. Come visit us today for some of the best barbecue around. C&J Barbecue. The C is for Chip, the J is for Joe, and the barbecue is for you.
But you started to get into it. Let's get into the conversation for this week, and that is the big series. A&M gets a 2-game sweep of the Longhorns in Bluebell Park as part of the Lone Star Showdown. Of course, that last game rained out due to inclement weather. But let's start with the beginning. Tyler, you were out there with me on Game 1. It was the return of Jim Schlossnagle to Bluebell Park. It was probably one of the most anticipated baseball series in the history of the program. We've talked about that a lot last week. Did it meet expectations? Did it not meet? What was the electricity like in Bluebell to you?
No pun intended.
Yes, the electricity. Now, this is before the lightning.
Oh, right, yes.
I think it did. I think it met expectations. There was a lot of buildup. There was a lot of, and it was a pretty rocking atmosphere. I will say, giving A&M fans credit, there's a lot of other fan bases out there that would not have been, and I don't even want to say hospitable because they were still heckling Schloss, but would have been a lot nastier, I guess.
Hence the video circulating from the LSU Ole Miss series this past weekend.
Right. Nothing. I don't think at least that I witnessed, there wasn't anything completely out of bounds.
No.
I felt safe there. If this was a situation, a different fan base, you might kind of fear for the safety of certain people in the stadium. That wasn't the case. There was extra security, but I don't even think it was needed. I think A&M fans were just happy to beat Schloss and, heckle him and let him know about it, as it happened. And he mentioned after the game, too, he's still got, friends there. In fact, we saw when they got off the bus, the first person he went to was an A&M fan, that one of the 203 Raggies up in Section 203, and he's like, yeah, I might be in the minority, but I don't hate him. So as a person, he had his own choices. I don't agree with it, and I think people have kind of maybe a sports hate that's not, maybe you don't hate the guy. You kind of have a sports hatred geared toward it. I think that's what he was trying to say. He's still friends with him as a person.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously he's going to root against him.
That is what I've been trying to articulate for a long time, Tyler, and it took me 4 or 5 podcasts to say it, and you did it in about a sentence. Yeah, it's sports hate. That's a different kind of hate. It's not an actual hate. It's that's why sports exist, is for the love and hate and the pageantry and the storytelling behind it. That's why you guys do what you do. It's about the emotion behind it. And yeah, I sports hate him.
Yeah. Well, and the particular fan I talked to, he argued that this is the same atmosphere as any Texas game, and sure, and maybe a lot of fans, since it's been a while since A&M and Texas have played actual series in this conference, maybe they weren't around or don't remember there having, but you can't deny this is just such unique circumstances. This isn't any Lone Star Showdown.
Right.
There was more to it. And
this is the last time that we played Texas at Olson was before it was Bluebell.
For series.
Regular series.
Right. Sorry, excuse me. Yeah, obviously, there's been out of conference stuff and things like that, but that was, I think, even most of those were before Section 12 or before Aggie Alley really took off. Mm-hmm. Before alcohol was served at the stadium. There was a lot of other things leading
Tyler
up to
with
it.
His man bag.
Yeah. Tyler Shaw. There he is. Wonderful.
Yeah, doing it all.
There was a lot of other things leading up to it, but I think there was a little bit of extra juice. I mean, that's all we talked about last week, right? Mm-hmm. And none of these series are going to get any less that way, I think, because as long as Schloss is there, and especially as long as one of Schloss's former assistants is coaching for us, I mean, I think even if and when we do have a different coach, that's always going to be there, that element of it. And with the football thing turning out the way that it has so far, every time they come to Kyle Field, it's going to be this, we have to beat them, the kind of thing, because of the way the record is starting to slant again. Basketball has been back and forth, and they, 2 new coaches there, and so on and so forth. None of those games are going to get any less
It's almost
tense.
A nice deciding factor, because I talked to another fan that said he was a student. He said, "Man, this would make my senior year if we could win this series."
Yeah,
this was
absolutely.
in the middle of game 1 when it was still kind of in the balance, and he said, "We lost them in football.
Yeah,
basketball splits. Okay, it's I need this one."
That's what you talk about, Yeah, and because I was a senior for the first year in the SEC, and so I still think about that last game against Texas before they came back with the I almost said PJ Tucker. That's a different Longhorn sport. Justin Tucker with his game-winning kick and stuff like that. And I was like, man, I'm glad I didn't graduate that year, because then I got to see Johnny after that. But you think about, and you put a bookmark in those games, and you remember where you are, especially as a student, right? And it's like that with all college rivalries, but obviously this one means more to me. So
yeah,
it was a fun weekend. I wish we would have gotten to play Sunday's game, because I think we finally got to the pitcher that I thought we had the best chance against hitting. Yeah. So
I think the atmosphere was really great. It's actually probably at its best before the game, because I think there was still that anticipation. All of the there was a huge line outside when we were doing our live shots before. All of basically general admission was filled up by an hour and a half before the game.
Yeah.
They were yelling. Anytime someone in orange walked by Section 203, they were chanting Texas State or, some other regional school in the state and pointing at them.
Tarleton.
They were giving it to Schloss and the team down there. The boos were incredibly loud, probably the loudest boos I've heard from an A&M fan
Well,
base.
A&M fans don't really boo.
Right.
So I think that was more jarring to hear.
And there is, but I would still go back, like, loudest crowd pop was still probably the Caden Sorrell Grand Slam against Oregon. But that being said, there's a buzz around like a super regional when you host it.
That was Caden Kent.
Caden Kent, you're right, you're right. But there's a buzz around. There was about the team when there was like 8 Cadens and they all spelled their name differently.
Yeah.
There's a different buzz around this game, and it was really you could feel it from like the moment we arrived at the ballpark. The boos stayed strong all the way throughout. Interesting thing, I think, the boos were strong for Schloss. The boos, I think Max Wiener only came out of the dugout once for one mound visit. They were strong for Max Wiener, but not a whole lot towards like Nolan Kane or Chuck Box or any of those other guys that that followed over for that. But then the game started, and I think Ruger Rojas started for Texas. He's a guy that has had A&M's number.
He's good, man.
He is really good, but he wasn't great Friday, and A&M was able to take advantage. And I think the biggest storyline, the thing that we could talk about, for as much as we talked about how much the pitching staff has struggled for A&M the last 2 series coming in to this one, the bats were the bats, but the pitching staff really answered the call and helped put this game away, especially some of the relievers.
I refrained from texting Friday night, but the most stressful part of my weekend was the bottom of the 9th on Friday night.
Clayton Freshcorn,
when he was closing out the game, and I was like, okay, he's got this. Gives up a solo homer. Like, okay, it's fine. We're good. Gives up another solo homer. I'm like, oh my god,
it's a one-run game.
What is happening? But then, like, he punched him out, and oh man, yeah, the bats were insane, and like even both sides. I think specifically the guy I'm thinking about on the Longhorns, though. Almost another Caden. Aiden. Is it Robbins or Robinson?
Robbins.
Just Aiden Robbins. That dude, every time he come up to bat, I go, well,
I believe that was his home run right there.
Yeah. I go, he's about to go.
That was the last out, but still.
I knew that he was going to knock it out of the park every time he came up to bat. I was like, dang it. Like, we're about to give up a run. And I was right almost every time. Like, I think he had 4 or 5 home runs? Maybe four. Four in 2 games. Like, that's pretty insane. That dude is really, really special.
Cool story by Clayton Freshcorn that they talked about after the game. He has kind of been their designated closer without actually saying so. He has the most saves. He's been brought in probably in the most clutch situations down the stretch here. But he went into Jason Kelly's office Wednesday before the series and said, like, hey, I want the ball more. I'm confident. I know I can do some more to help this team win. Give me some more opportunities. And apparently Jason Kelly's response when he walked in was like, I was expecting you. Like, this is some kind of Jedi thing. But he's when Michael Early kind of talked to Kelly after, he's like, what was that about? He goes, he wants the ball more. And they said, okay, well, yeah, let's give it to him. And Michael Early said that he felt like maybe lately they've been letting him sit down there a little too long, that they should get him into games more. And for the most part, he pretty much proved it. He 3-inning save, his third 3-inning save of the season. He one inning with 2 strike, 1-2-3 inning in the 8th with 2 strikeouts. The home runs there was the back-to-back home runs that cut it a little bit close, but he kept guys off the base pass. Yep. We've talked about this many times before. In the SEC, you can give up solo home runs. It's just the 3-run home runs that will get you in trouble, and it would especially have in that situation. So, cool story for him that he talked the talk and then backed it up.
Absolutely.
In the game. In game 2, it was Gavin Lyons that stepped up and really performed well after Aiden Sims' 4-inning outing. Gavin Lyons went, I believe it was 4 1/3. And man, I was overhearing a conversation. Michael Early said he threw a lot of fastballs. I think he threw just about all but 2 pitches were fastballs. But when you come from that arm slot way down low, almost on the ground, that thing can rise, it can slide to the left, it can move. If you throw it two seam, it can duck back out towards the batter. And he was just launching that fastball, and it just absolutely stymied Texas's hitters through the last part of that game.
The pitching all weekend was impressive, and they, like you said, coming into it, that had been kind of the biggest concern of this team. I think this is kind of a series. You almost look at it, it could be a turning point. Could be a turning point in the season. You beat a top 5 team. You swept them. Granted, yes, there's the whole rivalry and everything, and there's a lot of baseball to be played. But now you start looking at this team. Well, yeah, they maybe they will host a regional. And now you're almost like, again, a lot of baseball left, but they're almost entering that territory of, if they keep this up and they keep more of that consistent pitching, especially out of the bullpen, and if they kind of figure out the starter, because they switched up the starting rotation for the first time this weekend. Are you in territory of being a double host? Are you a top 8 seed? You're almost entering that territory, and that conversation stems from, you just swept the top 5 team.
I mean, obviously, I'm ready to have those conversations, but I think if you go to Baton Rouge this weekend, and at the very least you win the series, I think you start talking like, okay, maybe they could be a national seed. Like their resume is all of a sudden pretty stellar.
They're at 12 RPI right now.
Yeah.
In the top 10 in most all of the major polls.
Yeah.
So, I think it was going from a season to start the SEC play of like, is this going to be just a little bit better than last season, to where they put themselves in a position, if they continue to win the games that they're supposed to absolutely they're in the conversation, probably pretty firmly in the conversation to host right now,
right,
a regional, if not get a national seed situation.
And you brought up the LSU series. I think this one in Baton Rouge is huge. They remind me a lot of A&M last year.
Yeah.
Coming in with those high expectations. I mean, obviously they just won the national championship. Lots of talent there, and just have not lived up to it. And for whatever reason, just has not been good. A&M was in that situation last year. A&M still, they beat Arkansas last year. They still won those series where they showed that they had the talent. They obviously just were not consistent enough, only won 30 games. So LSU is one of those teams that they have the talent. They could very easily beat A&M at home.
And I don't know. I think we're also kind of seeing that A&M is stepping up kind of at the right time, because you were also seeing Georgia lose that series to Florida. Mm-hmm. LSU obviously got swept by Ole Miss. You saw Alabama just get throttled by Arkansas, who we thought was floundering. Mm-hmm. So it is just wide open, absolutely wide open.
The LSU series is important because it's kind of a must win. They got to go. Yeah. LSU's RPI 67. They got to go out there and win the series in Baton Rouge. But then after that, you have Florida, which is number 5 RPI right now. You have Auburn, number 8, and then you have Ole Miss, RPI number 10. So they're about to hit the toughest part of their schedule. And so there's going to be a lot to prove over the course of that. But it doesn't feel like this isn't a couple years ago with LSU and Paul Skeens, where it's kind of like football this last season. There isn't necessarily a clear-cut, top-rung team. I think you might have said it was Texas heading into SEC play, but they've been less than stellar throughout the course of it. So it's really anybody's game, and we're going to get into it right here after this. But I think one of the reasons that would probably have to be in the back of the mind of Jim Schlossnagle and Michael Early as they're trying to get that third game, the Sunday game, played, is the fact that Georgia ended up losing that game to Florida on Sunday, and whoever would have won the Sunday game in the Lone Star Showdown series would have been in second place, lone possession of second place, right, which is not a place. I think A&M. It's been a pretty meteoric rise through the standings that were congested over the last couple of weeks, and that would have been huge for them, huge for either of those teams.
Well, and because of how wide open it is, and there is not that clear cut, like you listed off kind of the gauntlet they're going through. I don't think they're going to win all those series, but I think every single series they have the chance to win. Mm-hmm. You know, you list off all of those teams. I think absolutely A&M has a chance to win individually each one of those series. And that's a huge, coming from this time last year, that's stark contrast of how I feel about this team.
Yeah. And I think the way that I'm going to approach this is I'm going to assume that, pitching hopefully it continually gets better, and we find a flow that seems to be more of a winning formula. But I'm just going to assume that pitching stays about where it is, maybe even gets just a little bit worse when you run into this gauntlet that is the next 3 or 4 series. But what I am going to assume is that dudes who are maybe struggling a little bit at the plate will start to find it again, which if you're assuming that, you probably also assume that people like Gavin or Caden will maybe go into a little bit of a slump here and there. But like Hakopian and Jorian Wilson, at least as far as the weekend is concerned, seems like he found the bat just fine last night. But like those guys in the lineup who we know are good, but maybe the past couple of weekends or so haven't been delivering up to their own standard. 15, 16 run games are not out of the question it's not going to happen every time, but in conference play it would not shock me in the slightest. So the offense is super fun to watch.
The potential of this team is high, and again, the SEC wide open. There is not that clear cut number one. So I think we'll be in contention kind of down the stretch. The only team, if we're looking nationally, the best team I've seen so far is UCLA. Right.
Yeah.
And that goes back to early.
Who got beat by Santa Barbara last night? It was Tuesday game.
But Tuesday games happen. Yeah. That's baseball.
You mentioned how fun this offense is, and I think the biggest thing that's turned for them in the last couple of series is early in the year they were pretty dependent on the home run ball. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, they're still hitting a lot of home runs. But I asked Nico Partita last night, is there any razzing between him and Gavin Grahovac? Because Gavin Grahovac set the freshman year home run record for A&M when he was a freshman. Now, Nico Partita has 11, Gavin Grahovac has 10, and Partita had a good point. He said, but with all the he had 2 triples this weekend. With all the triples he's hitting and showing that speed off, home run scores a run, but they're knocking him in. And then you look at Caden Sorrell, who's leading the team in home runs. We just saw a highlight there. 2 of his RBIs this weekend were just good situational hitting a ground ball to the right side to get that run in from third base. So they've kind of put together a more complete, robust offense over the last couple of weeks that isn't just fully dependent upon the long ball. Because I think there is teams A&M has had in years past that were overly dependent on the long ball. And when they get out of Bluebell Park, that becomes an issue.
Yeah, well
last year, the Lone Star Showdown was a very low-scoring game, and how many balls did we see go to the warning track and just stop there? Because their offense relied on the long ball. And, yes, you get a lot of those pop-ups.
Well, even the Oklahoma series, the amount of people that we left on base was that was the decider, especially in that Friday game. But
let's we'd be remiss not to talk a little bit about then what happened on Sunday. It was me and Nick Kuzma marathon day.
You guys just had a good bonding.
We had some great bonding time. We got out there, and when we got out there, the field, even minutes before they were supposed to start, was looking like this. There was a tarp on the field. There was a little bit of drizzle coming down. Fans were already starting to kind of filter out. They announced an indefinite suspension of play. They would get a new start time. So no one ever actually came out and warmed up or anything. And there was probably about, 100, 150 fans who stuck around through all what would be 9 hours of the delay before the game was eventually called. It was pretty fun. They had, here's the grounds crew playing some games. They had the Masters on the TV. They had the softball game on the TV, so the Section 203 guys were doing all their normal cheers, but to the softball game on the TV. Watched Rory win the Masters. They had a kind of a dance party where the guys were going over giving requests and people were just kind of going crazy a little bit out there. They had a Sunday night baseball on for a while. So yeah, just a good thing. Mike Elko was out there for a little bit before things got a little bit too elongated, was signing autographs, having a good time with a little back and forth with Section 203. But ultimately, I know, Max, we'll lean on you, as this is when things were really hitting the fan late in the night, when they had said, okay, 7:30 start time, no, 8:15 start time, no, 9:30 start time. Max, why? There wasn't a whole lot of rainfall. Why did this happen?
Well, it was the lightning. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the biggest concern, and I think there was maybe a couple of points throughout the afternoon where a game potentially could have been played, or maybe half a game. But the problem was, you got to take the tarp off, and you got to do warm-ups, and then you got to start the game. And so, I mean, that's 45 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think there was a continuous hour where there wasn't lightning. And the very first lightning strike came from a thunderstorm that was over 90 miles away. And it's called the anvil lightning, and it just basically means like the top of that cloud was actually, the top and edge of that cloud, I guess, was essentially over College Station, even though the storm was south of LaGrange, like over Gonzales, Texas, south of I-10. But one of those lightning strikes, I think Kuzma said, like, it scared the heck out of me.
I'm gonna throw him under the bus. It was the thunder. I've never heard thunder.
Yes,
it sounded like a bomb.
So I know exactly.
Lightning and thunder are...
Nick just hauled. Like, I looked over, and he was already halfway down the stairs, running. Yeah.
I know exactly which thunder strike you're talking, because I was with the family at Kinderhill.
Nice.
And it like shook the place, and there was a family that, like, one of their kids was outside, and she like ran over to check on them, and they were like just petrified. Like, are you okay? Like,
like it shook the entire town, and I think it was in between Bluebell and Northgate. At least that was a report from somebody who was at Dudley's, and I was like, man, I'm jealous of you sitting on the Dudley's front porch just like watching the rain. I was like, dang, I wish I was you.
We were sitting on the film deck of Bluebell, and it sounded like it came from Reed.
Right.
Okay. Reed had exploded.
So when you're looking at that situation, and you're not even looking at a storm directly overhead, you have to assume that a lightning strike is possible at any moment after that. And then we saw actually a little bit of rain move through, and then it looked like, okay, maybe we'll get a pretty decent window here in the evening now that it's post-sunset, but stuff just kept on flipping, popping up. And then it got to 9:30, and I was like, okay, I think we're going to be able to do this. And somebody somewhere made the call and said, this just isn't going to happen.
Well, and to give a little bit of context there, the SEC rules say that for teams that bus into a series, not fly, but bus, the curfew is 10 p.m. You have to start the game before 10 p.m. If you start the game before 10 p.m. and it goes into another delay, you can't restart it after midnight. So it was they ended up calling it right at 9:30 because, as you were mentioning, talking about the tarp, getting players warmed up and everything, that you need 45 minutes to get a game up and going.
Yeah.
And once that kind of 45-minute time frame passed before the 10 o'clock deadline, they knew they weren't going to get anything warm. And lightning ended up striking again at 9:45.
Yeah,
after they called it.
And then storms just kind of kept popping up. And so, like, we were actively tweeting about it through the evening, and for a minute I was like, well, I think they could have done it at 9:30. And so, I had a couple tweets, one of which I ended up deleting because I think in hindsight a lot of people took it as I was like criticizing the SEC or A&M or Texas. Like, I think a lot of people just thought I was going to conspiracy land, so I just deleted it. But what ended up happening eventually was, like before 10 o'clock even, we had another lightning strike, and I was like, okay, well, it would have been canceled anyway.
Well, and probably 15 minutes after the field was cleared, as if you're watching online, we're watching the team celebrate with the Lone Star Showdown trophy. About 15 minutes after this happened and they cleared, for the first time really all day, the floor went out of the cloud and it just started pouring, and then lightning struck about 15 minutes later, so they wouldn't have gotten it in anyway.
It's kind of like the capper to it. And then it kept raining for hours after that. Like, not directly over the field, but like over town, you would just hear thunderclaps until like almost 2 a.m. So Sunday was a weird day of weather, and it ended up translating, I think, to like a quarter inch at Easterwood, which is like right by Bluebell Park. Sunday was a weird spring day, but
I guess there wasn't really I mean, you knew that weather was going to affect this, but Yes, the only other alternative would have been to try and do a doubleheader.
Yeah.
If you anticipate, but I don't know if you
but
anticipate.
But there was rain on Saturday too. There was rain delay on Saturday too. That pushed that
and there
game
was
back.
rain before the game on
Right.
Friday.
Yeah, I was about to say Friday maybe, but then even then,
Where would you have done the doubleheader?
Exactly.
Like the only way that I think it could have worked is if you maybe looked at the Sunday forecast on Saturday and said, okay, at the conclusion of this game, which I forget what time the Saturday game wrapped up, but it was not early.
that one was in a delay.
Maybe they could have had another one that started at like 7:30, 8 o'clock. That's the only time window that I think could have worked. But they walked into Saturday not expecting a doubleheader, so I don't know how easy that would have been able to be.
The big moment of Saturday too was the fact that it was such a flash flood situation, just such it went from nothing to everything falling out of the sky, that the grounds crew who earned their money, Nick McKenna, and his field crew,
there was actually no lightning on Saturday.
Right. That the sky just I mean, you couldn't see the outfield in like a second. They had, once you get that tarp out there, you know, I've pulled plenty of tarp in my day, and that thing is heavy to begin with, but McKenna did the math, and it's probably, once you get a 1/4 inch of rain on top of that tarp with a 1/2 acre size tarp, it can be anywhere from 8,000 to 12,000 pounds. And so those guys were trying to get it onto the field. The whole baseball team ran out, led by Travis Chestnut, and ended up kind of getting that thing over and into position, and they were able to resume later. But it was a stop and start series for these guys, and interesting. I talked to a bunch of people after the game who've been around the program for decades. No one could remember a 9-hour delay for a game. In 2023, when Schlossnagel was the head coach, there was a 7-hour delay for an Auburn game that ended up getting played. Alabama.
Yeah, I think I remember that.
But that was one where they sent out the alert early on that it was going to get delayed, so people weren't really showing up necessarily to the stadium. It was just, hey, we're not going to start on time. It'll be later. And so that ended up happening later that night. There was a regional, one of the person remembered a regional in College Station in 91 when A&M played Yale. That game didn't start until like 10:45 because there was a 4-hour rain delay in the game before it. And so they didn't wrap up the game until like, I think, near 1 in the morning, that game. And there was a couple that have been delayed to the next day, but I kind of didn't count those because that's not just one long delay.
If you think about it, it really is kind of a wonder that this doesn't happen more often than it does.
Yes.
Especially because
time of year you're playing.
It's 4 days of the week, and each game is at least 2.5 hours. So
yeah, it was a historic night when it comes to the length of rain delay that night. But Texas A&M gets the Lone Star Showdown. They're I believe in the lead of the whole contest now because of what they've been able to do. So first time that they've won a series against regular season series against the Longhorns in College Station since 1991, I think it was also. So pretty epic day for the Aggies. Well, let's go around the SEC real quick, and I have a fun one for us. Have you all heard of what's this thing called?
I don't know.
Your AI slop. Your AI slop bores me. It's a meme that if you put AI stuff, people put on there. Well, some guy decided that he was going to make a AI chatbot, like you go to ChatGPT. But the thing about it is, it's not really AI. There's just a human on the other side. So you can ask it a question, and it sends it to this human, and the human can just answer it or draw it however possible. It was a whole lot of fun. And I just decided, well, why don't we try this out? So I went on there, and this is kind of what it looks like. And I asked it, what do you think Texas A&M football's record is going to be in 2026? The first answer, it kind of goes up. You send it in there, and it says it's waiting for an AI, which means it's just waiting for a human. And the first response was a guy who said, "Yeah, sorry, I'm not in the U.S. I can't answer that for you." So I said, "Okay, thanks. We'll move on. Thanks, AI." So I asked it again, and this time I asked it to add a little bit of a summary of the season. What is the season going to look like? This person kind of knew what they were talking about. And they said they believe it's going to be. Tyler, I'm going to need you to probably help me when it pops up here, because I'm old and my vision is bad. I think he said 8-3 or 10-2 with another playoff run. And then I asked one more time to see what else we got. A&M with the trophy and an A&M on it. Then I asked Texas A&M, draw me with the first thing you think of. And I think this person said, let's see, we can pause it on there. This is a bag of M&Ms that are saying yeehaw with a cowboy hat on it.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Texas A&M.
So, if what question would you ask fake AI about A&M right now? Heading into, I don't know, the spring game this weekend, or
is Arch Manning going to be picked first or second overall in the 2027
that's
draft?
A good one. That's a good one.
Just want to poke the bear there.
Mm-hmm. Tyler,
Neither. You don't know that.
Okay. You're right. I do not know that.
I'll ask who's going to have the better season, Arch or Marcel.
Oh, that's a good one.
Ooh, that is a good one to ask.
Maybe we'll throw some of these out there before next week, and we can get some more answers. But yeah, this is pretty fun. Go out there and have some fun with it, because we also, if you go back to the Stinger, I asked one more time the A&M question, draw what you think of A&M, and someone drew this, which is just go Ags with Reveille.
I like it.
So,
it's a good picture of Reveille.
Yeah, so that means they at least know that, unless they Googled it and were like, oh, there's Reveille, and then decided to draw it. But.
So good times. This is your AI slopboars.me. So go out there and help some people answer some questions. It's a good time, and basically,
so you can volunteer to answer questions for people.
Oh yeah, you have to, because you have to have credits to be able to get questions answered. So you have to participate in the whole process
fun.
too. Yeah, we were talking about the little AOL Instant Messenger, Smarter Child.
Yeah,
it felt a little bit like a little AI. It was very nostalgic to early aughts internet.
How about that?
Where you can go, including the Comic Sans font and everything. So, Max, we didn't even really get to talk about the spring game because much was going on with baseball. That is happening on Saturday. We will have all kinds of coverage of that there and on this next week.
Recap next week.
Yeah, but Max, the weather could be involved again?
Yeah, I think so. I think right now, if we had to make that call, I would say, hey, let's start it at 11 or even noon. And I would feel pretty good about avoiding huge weather stuff. Looks like stuff's going to start rolling through Saturday late afternoon into the evening more than it does the first half of the day. Mm-hmm. So I think there's a real decent chance that the spring game is fine. But I would feel better if it started a little bit earlier.
Interesting.
And then after that, it's kind of chilly.
Yeah.
Finish the weekend, go start the next week.
I like that.
All right, well, that's what we're going to have coming up for you next week. We have all kinds of stuff from this past weekend against Texas on KBTX.com right now. You can go back and check all of that out. Be sure to keep on that KBTX.com for everything we have leading up to the spring game this weekend and coverage from the spring game, including Max's weather reports. You can check them out on the 5, 6, and 10. And we'll be back next week to break down everything that went on with A&M football this Saturday. So for Max Crawford and Tyler Shaw, I'm Travis Brown. This is the Aggie Game Day Extra podcast. We'll see you next week.